So today I'm going to show you how I make my bread. As you can see, I cheat a bit. This is a pre-mixed bread mix. That's 500 grams. And I'm supposed to add about 330 mils of water, but I'm going to put some tomatoes and cheese in this one. So this is the remains of a pack of tomatoes that have gone past their best by date. There's no point to waste them. There's about 100 grams there, so I'm going to assume that that's about 100 grams of liquid as well, which of course for water would be 100 mil. So I'm going to start off by assuming there's 100 mil in there already, and then try and see how much of 220 or 230 more mils I can add. So this is now the cheese I'm going to use. You can use anything. I don't endorse any particular cheese manufacturer. I would try to get something strong tasting. Some of the cheaper ones can be quite plastic tasting. But having said that, my general rule is that get the cheapest you can of anything. So you'll see, for example, there's brandy hiding under there. We also like drinking gin and tonic. And quite frankly, the cheapest one you can get usually tastes best. I have a general rule that, for example, that wine, if you buy me an expensive red wine, I probably won't drink it. I think the more expensive red wine is, the more hideous it tastes. So I'm going to just take a chunk of this, probably quite a big chunk, and chop it into pieces and add it to the flour mixture. And I've tried doing small pieces, but to be honest, they completely vanish when you do the baking, so there's no point. So that's my chunk of cheese. I didn't weigh it beforehand. You can see it's about 65 grams, which is quite a few calories, so do beware of that. But I just chopped a chunk, and now I'm just going to dice it and dump it in with the flour. So here we are. That's it diced. As you can see, they're quite huge chunks. And now I'll just add them to the mixture. Right. So now we've got the additives for this. I might put some pepper in as well, just to bring out the flavour of the cheese. Right. Although it doesn't need much. I'm not putting any extra salt in, of course, because that's already in the mixture. And the salt will basically stop the yeast working properly if you have too much. So we don't want that in. What we do need now is some lukewarm water. So I'll fill the kettle. So there's the kettle boiling. You'll see I've already put some water in a glass. So the cold water's gone in first, just to make sure it doesn't crack the glass when I put the hot in. And that was randomly guessed, that's 122 mil. Remember, I need about 230 because I've already got 100 mil of tomatoes. So we just take that and pour it into the dough mixture. Right, that's all we need to do. And now, the initial stage is simply mixing it. So I've got a fork and I'm just going to mix it in. I'm not doing anything fancy here. I have actually got a Kenwood, but this is so simple there's no need. But yeah, once it's a huge claggy mess, it'll be absolutely fine. And I'd just like to say a word for my camera operator. As you can see, he's a very professional person who knows how to aim correctly at everything. So this is already starting to absorb all the water, and really, that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep going at this for a few minutes. I'll use my hand in a bit because once enough of it's been soaked in, it's not too hideous and it doesn't stick to your hands too much. So it's been mixed a bit. It's still very dry. You'll see I've got a trusty plastic scraper. They're extremely useful. Yes, please, Mr. Cameraman, do focus. Right, so this is way too dry, as you can tell. However, we have one other ingredient to go in. This is something it mentions on the packet, but you don't have to do it, but I do. In fact, I overdo it. So I'm going to add some oil. So it doesn't really matter what you add. And you can see I've added quite a bit. Might even add a bit more. So this is probably going to make it very sticky and gooey. That doesn't matter because what the oil will do, first of all, it'll make the bread bouncier. But more to the point, it'll stop it being going stale too quickly. So now I still have to carry on the mixing, and that might now be wet enough. So here it is in a bowl, and a ball in a bowl, It's got bits of cheese sticking out, it's got bits of tomato sticking out. That's absolutely okay. We still have to do one final bit of moulding anyway before it goes in the bread tin. Actually, I probably won't put it in a tin. You don't have to use a tin, you don't have to own one to be able to do this sort of thing. All that really matters is that you've got the oven. So you can put this in as a lump, once it's risen enough, and then it will carry on rising in the oven and you'll just get a dome-shaped sort of rustic loaf. And now I'm just going to leave that. I'm not going to cover it. I know everyone says cover it with a damp cloth or greased cling film. Well, cling film is plastic. I don't want to be creating more plastic waste than I need to. And to be honest, if you get dough on a tea cloth, it's a right mess to clear up. So I'm not going to bother with that either. Of course, you have to prepare your tin. So this is the one I'm going to use. And you'll see I'm going to put a little bit of oil on it. Not a huge amount. It's got no edges really. So I don't want to put a huge amount on, it'll go everywhere. And now what I'm doing, I'm taking some greaseproof and I'm just going to put that on the tray. So it doesn't fit very well, that doesn't matter. So I'll put it on, you can see the oil spreading out. So now what I'm going to do is, I'll see if I can do this. I'm basically spreading it with my hand. So it's underneath the paper, but I'm pressing it outwards. And the only reason I'm doing that is to make the paper stick to the tin. It's not really playing a part in the cooking as far as I'm aware. And I'm going to have to trim these edges off because obviously it's overhanging the tray. I just want something that's going to be in between the tray and the bread. It probably wouldn't stick anyway. This is a non-stick plate, but yeah, it's easier. And also it saves on the washing up again later. You can throw the greaseproof away and there's nothing stuck to the tin. It just needs, it does still needs cleaning, but it's only really a bit of oil that's left over. Right, so here we are later. I've scrunched it down again and redone that folding thing, and I've got a ball, and I could just put this on the tray as it is, but what I'm going to do is cut off a chunk. It's not a huge chunk. Yeah, there you go. Right, so I've taken off a bit. What I'm going to do is an old-fashioned cottage loaf. That's not a very big piece. It may not be big enough, but it will give you the idea of what I'm going to do. So what I have to do is take this piece, right, and basically I'm just doing one final bit of kneading, and I'm rolling it into a ball. So there you go. Right, so that's the ball. And I'm going to move that over onto my main tray. Now obviously that might rise and overflow the tin. To be honest though, if it does, I'm not that bothered because that would mean it's huge. Right. And now I've got this bit here, so this has to be kneaded. Right, so that's been done, and then we roll it into shape. Right, just form a cradle with your fingers and roll it round. Okay. So it's not very pretty. I could make it prettier. Let's just tuck the ends in, flatten it a bit, fold it round. Do whatever comes naturally. It's like doing a Bob Ross picture. It's your loaf, you do what you want. So there's a mini loaf that goes on top, right? And of course, that's no good. They'll fall apart if you just leave it like that. So you need to glue them together. And the way you do it is you stick your thumb in the top and just press right the way down till you're touching the tin. Right, so I've got a hole in there now that goes all the way through. So that's going to glue the two halves together. So at this point you can glaze it if you want. Milk wash will do it. Flour, water. You just mix the flour and water, that'll do it. A bit of egg, but I mean that's expensive and you waste most of the egg. So basically do that. If you want, either now or later, you can score it. Right? There's different ways to doing this. I'm doing it with a knife, but you may find it easier to take the scraper, dip it in some oil, and then just push it in. But if I do that, it's clear that there's now cut marks, and you can extend them down the side. You can use the other side if you prefer, and of course you might have a metal scraper. That's usually easier, although not always. I do have a professional baking thing, one of those sort of razor blades on a piece of wood for scoring stuff. And to be honest, I think it's pretty useless. I think it's easier just to use ordinary knives and scrapers, stuff like that. So there is my loaf. That obviously needs to rise again. So now I'm just going to leave it, and it's going to be left there until it covers a sizable amount of this paper. So it's about an hour later. Here you can see the current version. So it has risen. You can see there's not as much paper left around on either side. And to be honest, I think that's as big as it needs to get. But it's still not perfect. So if we turn it round, you know, that bit's a bit dodgy. It's not a nice shape. But who cares, you know? What matters is whether it tastes okay and what it's like once it's cooked. So that's it at the moment. Remember, I put a hole in the middle, and of course that's essentially filled up now because the bread has risen to fill it. It's just this tiny little hole still visible. So now we're going to put it, I'm going to put the oven on to heat. That'll take about 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm going to take it all the way to about 200 or 210 degrees. And then I'll stick it in, and I'll simply leave it for half an hour. So there's no glaze on this or anything. It's not going to be shiny when it comes out, but it should hopefully be edible. So back in, well, I suppose about 40 minutes. So as I said before, it's not shiny, but it's not too bad. There's some cheese has oozed out over here. Definitely sounds cooked. Right. Now that's as it is at the moment, and it's quite solid. But you saw me put a load of oil in at the start. So when that cools down, it should start becoming more bouncy. And to be honest, if it doesn't, that doesn't particularly bother me. I rather like crusty bread. Right, so here we go. It's had about an hour to cool down. I've moved it onto the chopping board. Now if you look, before it was quite solid. So it still sounds solid, but it is bouncy now. So you can actually push it and it bounces back. So I push it in, it bounces back. And that's because of the fat that's in there. So I'll just do a quick cut. God knows what it will be like. So that's the inside. It's still slightly warm, but the texture's generally okay. You can see where there's been a piece of cheese in the middle. Now this is what I was saying before. There's a piece of cheese, and it sort of melted and left a hole. And if you use smaller pieces of cheese, basically all you get is the hole and the cheese disappears completely. So actually that's part of the top. So there's a bit of tomato, but I think the grain is okay generally. You'll find, in fact, with these breads that they generally taste better the following morning. It is worth making them the evening before. At the moment, say it's still hot, so it's still slightly damp. But once it's had a chance to dry properly and the water's been absorbed fully as it cools down, they become really long-lasting and extremely delicious. In fact, I wouldn't mind having some of that now.